Well, hello, and welcome to A Goodman's Tale. I am Joshua Goodman, your host today. A Goodman's Tale is a place where we can get down and talk about the nitty, the gritty, life's ups and downs, goods and bads, our greatest victories, and our most epic defeats. As always, we ask that you like, share, subscribe, help us get the word out of what we're doing here at A Goodman's Tale today. And without any further ado, let's get it. All right, the name of today's episode is You Better Belize It. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been sharing some of my stories, my tales in regards to some of the adventures that I have had. And You Better Belize It actually begins at the very end of 1998. In October of 98, a hurricane began to form in the Caribbean. This hurricane would go on to just wreak historical devastation. The hurricane's name was Mitch. And Hurricane Mitch would, according to history, end up being the second deadliest hurricane in history, the most deadly hurricane experienced in the past 200 years. It would leave in its wake 11,000 fatalities, 7,000 in Honduras alone. It would wreck 35,000 houses and end up damaging another 50,000, leaving 1,500,000 people homeless, about 20% of Honduras's population. Mitch directly caused over $2 billion in damage. And that was in direct cost, another $1.8 billion in indirect cost. It was so bad that the officials ended up having to enact a curfew, and for 15 days had to declare martial law to keep riots and looters from just running amok, right? There were outbreaks of diseases and shortages, food, electricity, all of these things. And that brings us to, again, this was in Honduras, and keep in mind, today's story is really You Better Belize It. So we got to get there, though. We, the International Missions Organization I was working with, was able to put together an emergency aid team and medical within 1 week. Literally, the storm had formed at the end of October, the very first week of November. We had boots on the ground, doctors, nurses, aid workers, able to give out food, supplies, able to bring medical attention. And we would subsequently do another 2 or 3 teams in throughout the course of the year to do follow-up check-ins. And literally on this team, we were able to bring aid to thousands of people, able to see thousands of people in emergency medical clinics and provide for their basic needs in this huge time of need. And this team was very pivotal. It would have a very, just direct impact on my life personally, because it was through this team that I ended up meeting a pastor named Omar Reyes. I met another pastor named Santos Rodriguez from Puerto Rico. And as a matter of fact, just to show you kind of directly how we get there, I just returned a couple of months ago from a mission trip to Puerto Rico, where I was ministering with both Santos Rodriguez, Pastor Santos, and his son Junior. I was invited there to celebrate their 30th church anniversary. And I can tell you what, whenever I go to Puerto Rico, I may talk about them next week. Man, they pack my schedule. Morning, noon, and night, I am pouring out of just God has endowed in me certain things. And just during that time, they just draw off of me the entire time that I'm there. Anyway, another individual that I met was a young pastor, Pastor Omar Reyes, and he was pastoring a church then in Dallas, Texas, but he was originally from this small town called Orange Walk Town in the northern portion of Belize. And goodness sake, within that trip where we're ministering, he would invite me to do medical teams, begin doing medical teams to his hometown, Orange Walk Town in Belize. And me and my dad, we go in to Orange Walk Town to do a preliminary on the ground sort of evaluation of everything. During that time, we ministered for 4 days in the church there in Orange Walk Town, and did a lot of ministry development, a lot of leadership development, taught like on the basic principles of the doctrine of Christ, doctrines of baptisms, good knowing God, devils, demons, and deliverance, just a wide variety of ministry, leadership, raising up material. And I can remember it was my very first time in Orange Walk Town, and one of the evenings, Brother Roki, who was Omar's dad, says, I've got to take you up to Mexico. It's only 20, 30 minutes away, and we're going to have street tacos in Mexico. So here we go. We do this border crossing and go from Belize into Mexico, and take us to this little dive, this little Mexican dive where they have street tacos. And guys, I got to tell you, I ate more street tacos that night than I don't know how many, but it was a lot, probably 20 or 30. Keep in mind, the tacos are only like this big, but wow, got stuffed. Next day, we're beginning to conclude our trip there, our evaluation and teaching time. And Brother Roki had set up for me and Dad to take a boat up a river to visit these Mayan ruins. And it was, I mean, what can I say? It was epic, right? Here we are going through this like Amazon basin speedboat racing, just bobbing and weaving and going. And what a great time, we had heading to those Mayan ruins. It was kind of interesting, right? Because in learning about the Mayan ruins, we actually had the opportunity to visit the high temple of Lamai in Belize. And Lamani, is translated as submerged crocodile. And it's interesting because while we were there at the Lamani temple and the Jaguar temple, I actually went swimming in the lake. And now, as I consider that choice, being that Lamani means submerged crocodile, I've done some really silly things in my life, guys. I'm gonna be real with you for a second. This is the Lamani ruins. They are Mesoamerican archaeological site. It was a major city of thousands of people during its time, and it was documented to be, from like 600 BC, before Christ. There was a civilization, and they were renowned for the exceptionally long occupation spanning the early pre-classic Maya period, continuing through Spanish. Keep in mind, I mean, these were the Mayans, right? They were able to survive through the Spanish, through the British colonial period. And like most civilizations, honestly, guys, they didn't survive that. And but this group at Lamani, they were able to survive and existed. I said 6, but it's actually 400 years before Christ. That puts them at there was a civilization there almost 2,500 years ago. To kind of put that in a little bit of perspective, in America, we just won our independence in 1776. That's like 250 years ago. So this civilization existed 2,250 years before America was even born. We know the old saying, right? Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. 500 years ago, right? Well, this civilization existed 2,000 years before Columbus sailed the ocean blue. You think of things like the Renaissance, Napoleon, goodness sake, even before Julius Caesar, this civilization existed. The amount of time, that this city existed. And I want to tell you a quick story. Like I said, it was almost like something out of Indiana Jones. Speedboating down this river and just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. We come to this lake where, like I said, I had to go swimming, where in the submerged crocodile. And this is one thing that just always stands out in my mind. So here we are. I climbed to the top of Jaguar Temple, and I'm looking out over this Amazon basin looking jungle area. And it was a suddenly moment. Like I said, I'm on top of the temple, and I'm able to have this huge panoramic view of the top of the trees in the jungle. And suddenly I noticed this batch of trees that just begin to shake. And I promise you guys, it sounded like a chupacabra demonic force begins to howl and to scream, rah, 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 right? And I'm promising you, I'm thinking that stinking Sasquatch, abominable snowman is about to burst forth out of the jungle as these trees are shaking. As it turns out, it was just a troop of howler monkeys. And if you've never listened to a howler monkey, I want to just encourage you right now, right? Go Google howler monkey, listen to the way these things sound, and then picture yourself in my shoes on top of the temple as these trees are shaking and these howler monkeys begin to howl. It was one of the, I don't want to say scariest, but I'm just like, whoa, what is going on? Anyway, even at that temple, I learned the origins of basketball. The Mayans would play this game with a ball and have to throw it through these rings. And, it's even said that if you were a part of the losing team, that you would be killed. You would be sacrificed to the Mayan gods. And so, yeah, just so much stuff, so much history here in that place. And like I said, for me, it felt like something out of Indiana Jones. And I halfway expected to find some hidden cavern somewhere that was stocked full of gold and gems. And powerful time. And as I look back, literally we would do these medical teams in both Orange Walk town and in villages around the Orange Walk district. And I sit back and I consider the thousands and thousands of lives that were changed and impacted. We would do both medical missions and leadership development, preaching and teaching. We would do street evangelism and just literally see thousands of people impacted. And understand, our medical teams, we were good at doing medical teams. Everything was pre-prepared. Medicines were all bottled. If we had to purchase medicines in country, that was all taken care of, and everything was prepped to the point of, had surgical precision to the point where we would, in a course of a week, literally see thousands of people, be able to pray for thousands of people, be able to evangelize thousands of people, and see what the power of God was able to do. I can remember one medical mission team we were doing. I believe it was probably Dr. David Parker, who, let me just tell you, has since gone on and continued to do medical missions, won awards and accolades from the country, truly had just a huge impact. And it was on one of his that Roki, who had then become just a dear close friend of mine, Roki brings me to this Mayan ruin. It was a yet to be unearthed Mayan ruin, though. So it was a mound, right, that they had yet to begin to unearth, and it had tombs in it, and there was a spot. And we didn't know this before, but Roki's telling me all of these spots that are temples and tombs and things. And grave robbers had been to one of the ruins and had dug a hole. I mean, just large enough for a guy my size to fit in, and pointed a flashlight down, and it went in probably about 30 or 40 feet, and then came to a place where it kind of teed off in two directions. And I get down in there, right, and I start low crawling through this tunnel. No again, like jumping in Crocodile Lake, no substructure. I could be crawling through this thing and it just collapse and me die. And I never thought about stuff like that until after I was 45 years old. Anyway, I'm going through this tunnel, low crawling through there, and I get to the end of the T. And again, I'm hoping for some national treasure, Indiana Jones, King Solomon's mind experience. What kind of things am I going to find in this tomb? And it was so anticlimactic, guys. I get down to the end, right, 30 feet in ground, and it tees off, and what do I see? A couple of bats down this way and a couple of bats down that way, and dead ends. And so, one thing harder than low crawling, I'll tell you this, and it's the truth, is low crawling backwards, because it's so small in there, I can't turn around. So now I have to low crawl backwards 30 feet in order to get out of this tunnel that I was in. But again, just these life-changing good experiences that I've had the opportunity to have, introducing not just Dave Parker, but Doc Clark. Man, bringing him, and he was a good dear friend of mine, and allowing him to experience the people, the culture, the history of Belize, and again, taking him to Jaguar Temple and Lamanai archaeological site, and experience the beauty of all of these things. It was just powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. Belize is one of the places that I can point at with a high degree of certainty and say, man, we had a huge, huge impact on that nation. Thousands upon thousands of lives were bettered because of the work we did in Belize. And when I sit back and I think about it, right, all of that came about because of a national disaster, because of Hurricane Mitch. And as I think about that, I got to stop and I got to consider that the impact that we had, the adventure that I got to live, the places I got to go speed boating down this Amazon basin river to this archaeological site with these howler monkeys, being able to see thousands of people impacted through medical missions, from 90-year-old women to 1-year-old babies. And it was all because of Hurricane Mitch. It makes me sit back and really consider and say, man, that is something God can do. That is an impact that God can have even in the midst of the greatest disaster. So today, friends, I don't know what you may be going through. Maybe you're going through a Hurricane Mitch in your life, but you need to know, if you allow God to, if you stick to it, if you don't back down, that even in the midst of disaster, God can bring about great things. It's going to be cheesy, but I'm going to say it, and you better believe it. That's right. Anyway, guys, that's about all the time I have for today. Go out there and live life with all you've got.